Hello and welcome back to Belmont
Where
Bunch.
the games are made up and the playoffs don't matter.
I'm Mr. Belmont Bunch, and this is my boy Chin Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Anders Lee is actually the Crimson Chin, so you're his sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we got the podcast back. Brought it back last week. We made it back. I had no idea until James texted me, and I forgot. And I was like, all right, let's do it again. So we're back, and we're briefly going to touch on the games since the last pod that went out last Thursday morning, and then we're gonna do some. We're gonna talk about some of the players specifically, and we're also gonna talk about the playoff pipe dream, I guess. Yeah. So the games, the Islanders win 3 of 4, which still isn't enough for the position that they're in. The Islanders are 11 points out now with no games in hand, and the dream was there for a second, wasn't it, James? For a moment.
Exactly. It's like they won 4 games in a row, or is it 3 games in a row? Oh, it
For
was four
yeah,
because it was two against Columbus last week, and then they played the Rangers. They smoked the Rangers. It was a great April Fool's Day, not joke. Um, and then they played okay against the Devils. They won. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, so it's like as soon as they just give you that inkling in the back of your head, like maybe they can make the playoffs. It's like, no, they
yeah.
they just really. I don't know. I didn't actually see the full game against Dallas, but I did see that shorthanded goal that was the game winner for Dallas, and that was pretty embarrassing. Like there's a lot of parts of that game that were pretty hard to watch, mostly the power play. So
Yeah. Yeah, the Isles, I mean, just to summarize that this 4 game stretch since the last pod, the Islanders played very well in I would say 3 of them. And the Dallas game, there was a good point brought up because in my recap the other day, I didn't really know what to say. Like I I'm not seeing a lack of effort, right? Even in the game that they lost, even though they got dominated. But they I think maybe the schedule is starting to wear on them a little bit. They've played a lot of games in a short stretch of time. They have a lot of back to backs. This has been a weird season scheduling because of COVID at the beginning. So I wonder if it's just like kind of wearing on them now. And I think that Dallas game, the body language I saw on some of the guys after the final whistle went was kind of like, yep, that one hurts. Because I think based on that body language, I think the players went into that game the same way we did, which is, all right, I haven't bought in. I will begin to somewhat believe if they beat Dallas
yeah,
and get the deficit to 9 points on equal games with Washington. They have 2 games left with Washington at the end of the year, a home at home.
I mean, wouldn't it be exciting though if like it came down to those 2 games for who gets the wild card spot?
Yeah, I
That
mean,
would be
it would be.
unbelievable.
The Islanders have to do a lot of work to get there. Both teams have a very difficult schedule getting there. The Islanders, let's go through the schedule really
Yeah, I have
quick.
it up on screen. So
Carolina, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Montreal. So they only play the rest of the year 2 games against non-playoff teams, Buffalo and Montreal.
yeah,
That's going basically like, you know, last night. That's kind of why last night I was like, okay, this could be, they can win me back because this is a playoff caliber team in Dallas.
hmm hmm
The Islanders do find a way to do it. Then why can't they figure out a way to do it against other teams? But they didn't. And now they're going to have to play some better teams. And I just don't think they're good enough to beat Carolina. I don't think they're good enough to beat Toronto right now. Florida. Florida's giving up a lot of goals. Toronto's giving up a lot of goals. But the Islanders aren't going to be able to keep up with them offensively. So just, um, you know, they at least, at the very least, I think it's good that they're at least in the conversation because I said at the point in the year where I gave up, I was like, I just want them to be. I predicted that they were going to end up as the best team to miss the playoffs in the East. I didn't realize how big a gap that would be. Like there's a huge drop off from the 8 seed to the 9 seed. There's a gigantic drop off. By the way, I just took a look. Washington's up 3-2 on Tampa after 1 period.
damn.
So, which is, the interesting part is, and it's going to sound like I'm a homer here, but I do think it's actually a huge shame that the Islanders, despite the Islanders not being a super talented team, and despite them not being too good this year, I really do think that they would give a better playoff series to some teams than Washington. I really do. And I could come off like a homer there, but Washington's style in the playoffs, I think they're just going to give up a lot of goals, score a few themselves, and bow out in 5.
I have no idea, but I do know that I should be calling you Butch. Yeah, because
why is that?
That's a very homer attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I have too many homer takes on the channel.
Hang on a second. So who would Washington be playing if the playoffs started right now? They'd play Florida?
They would be playing Florida. Now it's interesting. I'm this is kind of alluding to in my head I've been working on my theoretical playoff bracket because I'm going to be doing a video like I do every year once the playoff seeds are set. But even Florida right now, people might be a little bit surprised, but I am not bullish on Florida in the playoffs, despite them being the number 1 seed in the East. I do not trust the goaltending even a little bit. So for me, that's a big thing come playoff time. It's a shame. ESPN's website used to have like a maybe not yet, but at some point in the season, usually they have a playoff matchups if the playoffs started today.
Oh, that's cool.
That it is a cool feature. It's one of the few things that ESPN does well. There goes me working.
Our future ESPN sponsorship is gone. Thanks, Tom. But what's weird is you rag on ESPN so much, but you use their stats specifically, like going on their website, and you continue to use it.
Well, I don't.
I just go to NHL.
Well, I actually like. I'll give ESPN a compliment. I guess I like their the setup of the website. Maybe I'm just used to it from fantasy sports.
Probably.
But So the Isles are 11 points out. Their goal differential is positive for the first time.
I just noticed that. Yeah, they got +3 nice. Goals.
6-4 in their last 10. Yeah, you know what? Oh, you want to hear something funny? The Islanders have 2 more regulation wins than Washington.
How is that possible?
Washington wins a lot. They've won 9 overtime/shootout games. They've won 5 shootouts, and they've won in overtime. I guess that would have to mean 4 times.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the Islanders are 1-6 in the shootout.
Yeah, our shootout has been not great this year.
That's something. And it's funny because today the Isles official podcast, Talking Isles, had Franz Nielsen on. And so it got me thinking about how we could have used him this year. He's like 36, but they should have signed him, not played him at all, but just left him on the bench each game.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, hey, shootout, you're up.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would have been funny because they would have only used him 6-7 times this year.
Yeah, and they would have won 7 more games.
But anyway, I guess
that's really actually the best. That's the most Moneyball decision you can make. You know what I mean? Is have a
on base.
Yeah.
And in Franz's case, he wins shootouts. You want to be like Washington? You want to win shootouts? Sign Franz Nielsen. Anyway, I feel like, oh my God, Washington, they're road warriors, and I had no idea. They're 21-7-5 on the road. They are significantly better on the road than they are at home.
That is very odd.
That is weird. I hadn't really been looking at that because a lot of the playoff teams are just good across the board.
Pittsburgh is better on the road, but not by much, only by 3 games. But yeah,
you look at Boston's, just their wins are perfectly even. Their record's almost perfectly even when home and away. Florida is good in both. Toronto's good at both. The playoff teams tend to be good at both because, surprise, they're good teams.
Mm-hmm.
But the Islanders, they're doing fine next year. I think they've gotten used to UBS as the year's gone on because they started with 7 straight losses. So they started with 7 straight losses, which would mean that now they've won, I think, 18 of 22 at home since then.
It's getting there.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on to what did we have next? We had the we're kind of
talking about the playoff implications.
Kind of folded into it. Yeah. So I guess obviously to make the playoffs at this point, the Islanders have to beat Washington both times that they have games remaining, and
Tom,
they need to.
Tom,
Well,
let's do the math. Okay,
okay.
let's do the math.
I was told there would be no math,
So
and
yeah, so they have we already counted, I already forgot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
13
10,
games.
11, 12, 13 games left.
So does Washington.
Okay, so we have no games in hand, and we're playing 2 games against Washington at the end of
Yes.
the season. I love it.
Yeah.
So, so like you said, wait, so we have 13 games left. So if we went, you said we have to earlier. You said we have to win 9 if Washington goes
Well,
500.
that was the number being thrown around prior to our loss to Dallas. So we probably have to be even better
Well,
than
let's
that.
figure it
And
out. So if
also
Washington
that
goes
depends on
500,
Washington.
if Washington goes 500, well, roughly 500, right? Let's say they get like an overtime point or something. So they get, so there's 13 games left, and they get
Let's say
13 points.
let's say they go 5-5-3.
So 5, 5, and 3. So
Right.
that's
They have
that's
13
13.
games left, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's I. Yeah. Okay. Sure. All right. So that's 13 points. So that means that leaves Washington at how many points total? 84 plus 13 is what 90.
90. Yeah. 97.
97. Okay. So Washington equals 97. So
Yes.
that leaves us at
So the
73.
Islanders would have. So we have 73 right now, right?
So that means in 13 games we have to make up whatever 97 minus 72 is. Wait, I'm pulling up the calculator on the screen now,
70,
Tom.
73. We have 73.
Yeah, so 73. Oh no, wait, hang on. 97 minus 73.
Isn't that 24?
24. So we have to
Boy.
make 24 points in 13 games,
Okay. So they have to win.
which is like
Oh my God.
10
Yeah,
that's 11 12 games.
they'd have to win 12 of 13.
They'd have to win 12 of 13
So
if
the
the Caps went
Capitals
500.
the
Exactly.
Capitals could sleepwalk to the playoffs at this point.
I mean, well, so they actually have
Caps-
the same. If you look at the last 10 games, it's the same between the Islanders and the Caps, 6-4,
Yeah.
6-4-0, and so it's like, it's like if they're not careful, they might go 500. Like if they're at 500, there's no way the Islanders are only to give up 1 game in the next 13.
Well, I think that proves a good point that like last night, I mean, even before last night, it was a pipe dream. We had like a 2% chance of the playoffs going into last night. Now it's like 0.9 according to Money Puck. So, yeah, it's funny because we circled it because there was a lot of momentum coming in, but I think we also circled it because it was a playoff caliber team and we knew we were going to play a lot down the stretch. So the Islanders would have to win 12 of 13 against the most difficult part of their schedule.
Yeah, 12 of 13, like being like reasonably optimistic.
Yeah,
If the
and
Caps,
you know that you have to sweep Washington in the 2 games.
exactly, which means that if they lose they could lose, in theory, they could lose 1 point to Washington if they won every other game. They could win in overtime in one of those games and still make it.
Yeah,
If that's only if Washington goes slightly above 500, then the Islanders are out.
also our schedule is ridiculous. We have a back-to-back this week, Friday and Saturday. We are going from Raleigh, North Carolina, to St. Louis, Missouri, overnight. That's not going to be fun. I look at back-to-backs like that, which are pretty rare to have to travel that far for a back-to-back. And I basically go, if you don't win the first half of it, you're going to lose the second.
Yeah.
Like that second game is almost
It's
like
only going to be
it's
only going to be harder.
A loss.
Right, exactly.
So
Dude, that's what happened. That's why we lost the Eastern Conference Final 2 years ago. I'll never forget because the
8-1 game.
Yeah, the 8-1 game, 2021 playoff, like 2020.
The first
2020.
time against the Lightning, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because we just finished a 7-game series against the Flyers. I think that's what it was. And then we only had 1 day to travel, like 1 day in between that ending, and then traveling to Tampa. So
yeah, and that was a combination that
unrelated.
I didn't like the league scheduling it like that, but at the same time, the Islanders had something that they could have done better, which is they should have closed out Philly quicker. But this time around, like I don't know, like they were doing the mask situation. They were I think they had a policy of being vaccinated. and they still got COVID cases. And because of the way that the league handled COVID, they like basically had to ice minor league rosters for a few nights. And I think it's important that I emphasize that the league didn't end their season. The Islanders didn't play well enough, and that's why they're not going to make the playoffs. But the scheduling and obviously the early season COVID stuff just made it really, really difficult. And then on top of that, the Islanders just didn't play up to their standard. So I don't want it to sound like an excuse for why they're not making the playoffs. It is frustrating though when they also then have, at least it's a home and home with Pittsburgh, so that's not terrible travel. But
well, yeah, but then the day after that, we're at Pittsburgh. The next day we're going to Montreal, which is probably not as far as actually I don't know, Carolina to St. Louis.
It's definitely not as far as North Carolina to St. Louis. But yeah, I don't think. My geography is not fantastic, but
we're a geography podcast now,
dude. This schedule is just. It's not fair to them, the schedule, but they also.
I wouldn't be surprised if other teams are in the same. Caps are playing the same amount of games in the same amount of time, so it's probably similar to them. I'll see if I can get their schedule.
They do not have a back-to-back the rest of the year. The Caps.
What? How's that possible?
I think the Islanders' COVID situation created some back-to-backs.
But they have the same amount of games to play.
Yeah, but it's in
one's today though, as of recording this. So
yeah, the Islanders are, I guess, just not.
No, bro. The end of the season, they're playing the Islanders, and the next day they're playing the Rangers.
Oh, okay. So they have one. They have
one back, but it's in the same state. So
probably after they've clinched.
Maybe
99, literally 99% chance they've clinched.
No, it's a 99.1% chance.
That's
if
true.
The Islanders have a 99 or have a 0.9% chance.
Yeah. Anyway, I think this is, since we've effectively communicated that this is an impossible task and you should all give up, I think we should look at players, individual players, and determine, here's an idea. We did grades a while back.
Last week, in fact.
Yes. I guess we were going to do stay or go. Who do we want to?
Ooh.
So maybe, do you want to go through the roster, or do you want to? I think we should each highlight one player specifically that we want gone. And then we'll go through the roster.
Okay. You first.
One player that we especially want gone. And
I feel like you're trying to put words in my mouth, Tom.
I'm gonna lead off with I feel like a fairly obvious one. Josh Bailey. I know there's another obvious one.
He might get better, okay? He might get better.
Guys get better when they turn 33 and 34.
Mm-hmm.
I think
he's got so much dad energy.
He just fell off a cliff this year. He had a tiny stretch where he played a little bit better, but he's making $5.5 million a year for
That's
a couple
crazy.
more years. They need to free up money this offseason to take a real shot at like a Philip Forsberg and probably a defenseman as well, because I see a huge gaping hole on the left side of the defense right now. I see Pelech up top, and I see Salo as the bottom pair defenseman, hopefully next year getting a regular role that, he could be kind of ushered in by Scott Mayfield, who's a good guy to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
But in between that, and even if you brought back Andy Green, which is technically, obviously better than bringing back a certain other player that's.
I thought he was I thought Chara was going to be the person you were going to just be like, he needs to go. But I think you're assuming that.
Yes, that has to be assumed. They bring him back, and I'll never go to a game again. That's not true, but no, they it's that scary part of my brain where it's like, surely they can't.
Yeah. But it's like you're so sure they can't do it. So that's like, if it happens, it's 10 times crazier.
Well, that's the thing, is part of me knows that, Lou loves his AARP guys. He loves those guys.
Yeah.
And, it worked out 50% this year because I think Parise, you could say, has been a success for, the amount that they're paying him.
Yep. Well, actually, I don't even, how much are they paying him?
I think they're paying him league min. which is like 700.
Then yeah, definitely success because I mean he has 28 points, which is
not
a
great,
little bit
but
less than Bailey, but considering they're playing him 5 times less, not bad.
yes, yeah. So yeah, it's all about being cost effective. Look at the Buffalo Sabres right now are actually pretty cost effective because they have a lot of guys on rookie deals scoring goals. Anyway, but so you, James, give me a player that you need gone.
Um, this is hard because there's a lot of players that aren't playing well. Kind of no offense to the fourth line, but the fourth line hasn't been playing great. And also
Yes, give us a ridiculously hot take. Come on, do it.
Yeah, no.
Do it.
Um,
Do it.
this is gonna sound weird,
Mm-hmm.
but Ross Johnston, man, like
Your former favorite player.
my former favorite player. I don't know what they could. I mean, he's probably just going to be a guy that they throw on the fourth line from time to time whenever they need him. He might become a permanent fourth liner after Clutter, Cizikas, or Martin retire, or get traded, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you think they could
God
actually
help
get
us.
something back for him?
Nope. Which is really funny because they gave him purposely a little bit more money than I guess they thought he deserved because they wanted to make his contract more difficult for a team claiming guys off waivers just in case the Islanders wanted to send him down. And then they're also afraid to send him down. I thought the point of paying him a little bit too much was that he was going to be impossible. Like no one was going to go, oh yeah, let's claim him off waivers. No, he's making $1 million and he barely plays. Like I don't know. It was this weird thing. I think they were worried because at the beginning of the year, people were still talking about the Rangers not being tough enough. And I think they were worried about the Rangers.
We should just sneak him onto the Rangers team. Maybe he'll make them worse.
Yeah. You know what? That probably should have been the thing.
Yeah. We should have front-loaded the Rangers with all these grit players that they wanted. But
you're going to love him. Yeah. This baby can fit so many hits in him.
But, no, yeah, I like... In that case, not if you don't think we can get anything back for him,
nope.
Then, and I mean the two obvious punching bags for the season have been Bailey and Chara mostly, right? Yeah. So I mean I'm gonna have to agree with you with Bailey then, but it's so hard to say that, man. He's like the dad of the team.
He's got the 8th most points in Islander history. That's
with kind of how many years has he been playing?
Man, he's been playing since he was 18, I think.
And he's 32?
Something like that.
So he's like 14 years around?
Yeah, that's a lot of time. That's the thing. It's frustrating. And what scares me about this is because I feel like it has to be the first move made in the offseason because it gives them the financial situation to be able to go out and try to get a big fish because they have to pay Dobson this offseason. And I think Dobson's probably going to get a bridge deal, so I'm not worried about it taking up all the cap we have. We currently have like $12 million in cap space for next year. But also,
this is going to be if I remember correctly, this is going to be the third year it's the second or third. This next season will be where Barzal's making his top dollar.
Yeah.
Right. So now he'll be making like $8 million a year or $9 million a year, maybe even $10 million a year. Like he's making a crazy amount. I mean, he deserves it, right? But.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pulling up. Sorry, it's on dark mode. I was pulling, because I have the computer in the background. But
I can actually see the reflection of your computer screen in your mic.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Barzal is an RFA in 2022. 2023, 2024.
Okay, so so next season
we have another year of him signed.
Yeah. And I remember his deal was it got increased, more money every year. Like it started out at like $3 million, then $5 million, and then $7 million.
Yeah, but it looks like his cap hit is still $7 million.
Oh, $7 million. Okay.
So it's funny. It's something that the guys at Cap Friendly know better than me because they know the rules. I think there's maybe bonuses that make it so that he actually makes more than what his cap hit says. But as far as it being measured in the books, it goes down to $7 million. So, although I actually, it's been a while since that contract was signed. It does say $7 million for each.
No, I think it was $7 million average per year or something.
Okay, well,
maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, they have it as $7 million for the next 2 years. But anyway,
but okay, so going off that, then who do you think other than Bailey, that we could trade just to either I don't know. Are you looking at guys that you want that would be ideal to trade and get something back for, either picks or an actual trade deal with another player, or just to free up cap space to like
Mostly
make
to
a big
free up.
offer on a UFA?
I don't know how many legit like uh how many players we have that other teams would want that we're willing to give up. Like,
Right.
I think it's way too early to trade Oliver Wahlstrom.
That would be insane. I mean, he's going to be
Mhm.
like, I mean, assuming nothing drastic happens, right? Like I would like assuming like we keep this core, like
Yeah.
him, Beauvillier, Barzal, Dobson, like these are the guys that are going to be the core
Mhm.
for the next, ideally for the franchise the next 10 years.
Well, I don't know about Bo.
Yeah,
I think Bo is one of the only tradable assets we have because let me go back to he he's been decent recently as a playmaker a bit. He's got 32 points. I don't know, honestly, if he could help, if he's involved in a package that could help you get some sort of. Somebody pointed out recently, but the Minnesota Wild, whose jersey I'm wearing, I forgot to bring that up the whole video. I got this on eBay today. It's like what they wore very much in the early 2000s. Got it for like $30. Very nice. But I think Bo is somebody that could get moved because his contract is not too bad. It's not too expensive. And a team that maybe can't afford a more expensive player could do a package where they give up the like a better player. But we'll see.
What you think? If we give them Bo and a pick, they'll give us
Brock Besser, Patrick Laine. I don't know.
Are you still on the Patrick Laine train?
Yeah, he's had a pretty good year. I would like him if we can get him. But I wonder, Columbus had a better year than they thought they would. So I wonder if they just if they try to add, they had to get better on defense for sure. So I feel like for Columbus,
what if we give them Chara so they can get better on defense?
I was gonna say I just don't feel like we're in the position to trade any of our defensemen.
I was gonna say if you had to pick a defenseman that whatever obviously a stupid scenario, if a defenseman had to be traded, which defenseman would it be?
I think Mayfield is coming towards the end of a very inexpensive contract, and so they might not be able to re-sign him anyway after next year. So if the Islanders are bad again at the deadline next year, first of all, we're deleting the channel. Second of all, it'll be a fire sale. It'll be an absolute fire sale.
You think so?
Yeah, if they're not good next year, if they're like this again next year, that would prove that it's not a fluke, that they're maybe just not good. And they would have to sell at that point. And even then, they have Pajot signed long-term, Palmieri signed long-term, Anders Lee, Brock Nelson. Those
are all my favorite players. Those are all my friends, Tom.
Yeah. Adam Pelech signed long-term. Ryan Pollock signed long-term.
Oh, so you're saying, well, okay, but first of all, those are all players, most of them, I would say, are all players that are not part of the problem. They're players, mostly. I would say that a lot of the problem is we're not producing. We don't have the weapons that some of our forwards need, right? Obviously, Barzal is the guy that needs a weapon on his line, consistently. And the defense, so that's one hole to plug if it's whatever, if possible. And then the other hole is the defense, which was our strength, and then just through cap space and whatever,
some injuries recently.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a separate beast.
Like half our defense right now is not great. It's Chara, Hutton, Andy Green. That's not great. That actually made that win against the Rangers even more impressive. Shutting out that Ranger team with 3 AHL level defensemen was ridiculous because Green didn't play that game. Hutton and Aho played, and we still shut out the Rangers.
Damn.
So that was probably our swan song. That was our last exciting moment of the year, maybe. I mean, they could still create some down the stretch. But yeah, I'm just like you said, the fourth line has not been effective enough. I am kind of wishing they traded Clutterbuck at the deadline. I'm okay with keeping
He's been
Mayfield.
the best fourth liner, but I mean
That's
he's
true.
wrong with the value though.
That's true. But I think my point would be, in the offseason, Casey is signed long term, and Casey is still young enough at like 30, 31 that he has more to give than I think Barton. So I feel like if I were the GM, I would have traded Clutterbuck, and maybe played Richard Panik or Austin Czarnik a little bit more on that side. And, that could have been a good test down the stretch to see if that rejuvenated the fourth line with a little bit of a younger presence. Richard Panik, not as much, but with Czarnik, he's a little bit younger. He's got a little bit more energy, skates a little bit better. Matt Martin, it's funny because he scored. Literally, we were talking about this the other day. I think we should end on this. How funny is it? Every player that I crap on,
I know,
immediately, dude. I like Pajot finally broke through.
Dude, he got a hat trick literally the day after you shit on him.
He's got 4 goals in the last 2 games since
I know.
Shit on him.
It's crazy.
All right,
wait.
To shit on them more.
While the magic is still hot, while the mojo is still brewing, we really have to take it out on Josh Bailey so that he really sticks it to Carolina. On Friday?
Josh, listen to me right now. You stink. You're afraid of the puck. You're awful. I don't mean any of these things. Please play well.
Now it's ruined. Oh, great.
No, we need to up his trade value for. I guess at this point it is what it is. Like, a
little known fact: we're the most reputable sources for the trade value of players across the NHL.
I play a lot of GM mode in the NHL games, and let me tell you, Josh Bailey's trade value right now is a 7th rounder. And that's not us. That's us giving it to them.
Yeah, that's us giving them Josh Bailey and the 7th rounder.
And we would acquire future considerations, which is a fancy way of saying nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the Isles, they need a little kick in the butt, because they need to be more talented by the start of next year. And if they're not more talented at the forward spots, then Lou will have failed. That will be a failure on Lou's end if they're not a better team, more talented team that could score more next year.
All right.
So
let's end it on this note then. In perfect hindsight, past 2 years, what are some moves? I'm not saying all of them. We're not going to go through an exhaustive list that you think Lou could have made that he chose not to, or maybe could have made. Whatever, just that would have put us in a better position now.
Well,
if any, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I hate to do the retrospect game because
of course, yeah.
So I'm gonna not answer your question and instead say what I would do now, because look.
I'm gonna substitute your question with my own.
Actually, all right. I'll say this. Credit where credit's due. He replaced Eberle pretty well with Palmieri, right? Eberle had a hot start and then kind of faded, and the opposite for Palmieri.
Absolutely,
it kind of evened out. Now,
fair.
but this is definitely something I would have fixed, or done differently. I would not have protected the fourth line in the expansion draft. I would have exposed only Josh Bailey out of the forward group, because they easily could have finagled it to protect Eberle but not Bailey. They definitely could have done that.
Yeah.
And hey, even if it ends up that they don't take Bailey, because it wasn't a given they were going to take Bailey. Now, Bailey was at that point still thought of as a somewhat productive older player. And the way Seattle's season's gone, I kind of don't wish it upon them that they also would have gotten awful Twilight Josh Bailey, because Seattle already made enough bad decisions. One of the only good decisions they made was taking Jordan Eberle. But
don't remind me.
And I'm going to do a video about that. I've been working on some background research on the team I would have drafted if I were Seattle. But I don't know. I guess you could probably say then if the Islanders keep Eberle and Bailey, it's not a given that Seattle would have taken Bailey, that they wouldn't have been able to re-sign Paul Mary. That's interesting. But we ended up signing, because I guess, we ended up signing him for pretty much as long as Eberle is signed in Seattle. So it's kind of a straight swap. I think I'd rather have both Eberle and Paul Mary on the team than Josh Bailey and Kyle Palmieri. But Kyle Palmieri's been pretty good, and let's just hope that he keeps this stretch that he's got going where he's playing really well. He's shooting the puck great. Let's hope he keeps that up. Because we don't have a lot of guys that have his shooting talent. It's one of the only that emerged later in the year, kind of like JG Pajot. A lot of guys got hot way too late, and that's it's very frustrating. But at the same time, I think take some solace in that and go, okay, they're not as far away as it looked like when they were just terrible this year at points. So they've actually scored an okay clip over the last couple of months. So I guess in the offseason, it's just a matter of maybe something we said derogatory towards the Yankees in the Yankee video, but might fit the Islanders more. Maybe they do need to just shuffle the deck a little bit. Maybe they need one of the core guys to get traded to kind of shake up the lineup and get under these guys a little bit. Maybe they're too comfortable. As a team that seems pretty close knit, maybe they need the fear of God put into them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know, because what comes to mind is trading Beauvillier. Something like that.
We don't have much else.
Well, I mean, like, if you were going to trade a core guy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Other than Bo, who are possibilities? Because it can't be somebody that's already kind of like 30 or so, right? Like, it has to be
Scott Mayfield, and that's it. And I like Scott Mayfield. I like that they kept him because I think, like I said, I think you just trade him at the deadline this coming year if they're bad again. And could you have gotten more this year when he still had a year left on his contract? Yes, absolutely. Is it worth it to take one more shot with this core rather than, trade him and then just hope that Grant Hutton can be on his level, which doesn't look like it's there. I think that one was way smarter. The Clutterbuck one, I feel like Clutterbuck was on an expiring deal. I wouldn't have re-signed him, even though he was the best fourth liner this year, in my opinion. I would have just let Clutterbuck walk and figure out that position, because fourth line right wingers do not tend to be expensive. So it's not like they overpaid Clutter by too much, but I would have probably tried to get younger and a little bit faster there.
Well, how long was the deal?
2 years.
Okay, so
and he's 34 and he's a grinder. Like, I don't know. Like, look how quickly it fell apart for Matt Martin this year. I feel like.
Yeah, he went from having an amazing playoff season. That was two playoffs ago, I think, right? Yeah. Like, he got like 9 goals in the playoffs or whatever, which is insane.
Oh God, was it that many? I know that he scored a few big ones.
Yeah, it was like he got the same amount of goals in the playoffs as he did in the entire regular season, something like that. Yeah, totally fell off. I've been and what's weird though is I feel like maybe just because recently Cizikas, I feel like, has been taking so many penalties and not playing as good, that I haven't been paying attention to Matt Martin throughout the season as much. It's almost like the Josh Bailey effect, where it's just like he's not playing terribly. He's not actively playing bad. He's just like being too passive in terms of like playing well.
I should notice Matt Martin when he's on the ice.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? When you play the style he played for as long as he did, like, this is going to happen. Like, grinders do not last as long as skill guys because they're busy hitting people and getting hurt themselves occasionally. And they're probably always playing banged up a little bit.
Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising at all. Yeah, I mean, Clutter's out now for the rest of the season. Mayfield, not, although he's not a fourth liner, obviously, but out for the rest of the season. So
yeah.
But anyway.
So as usual, we went way longer than we thought we would.
But not terribly long. We said 30 minutes. It's been a little over 40.
This is 10 minutes. All right. Well, I guess we'll end it there. James, do you have any closing thoughts? All right. Thank you, James.